You do know that disagree doesn't mean dislike, right? No, really. It's OG time in Houston, Texas, around the country and around the world. Welcome to the Papa Geoff's America program. We're continuing the conversation one podcast at a time. We're so much more than politics. Conversation about mindfulness, positivity, health and wellness, stuff and things about taking care of each other. Things you want to talk about with commentary, insightful guests, and what would a day be without Papa Geoff's classic old guy humor, right? So, with one sort of kind of good eye, a very, some would say, unique sense of humor, and definitely a face for radio. Here's Mr. Here We Go himself, the G-Man, PG, the OG, Papa Geoff. Hey guys, Papa Geoff here. It's time to continue the conversation, one podcast at a time. Time to go for a ride, and today we're going to take a ride on Big Red, the Big Red fire truck. On Wednesday, December 2nd, I sat down virtually with Max Parks. Max is a retired Tucson City Fire Department captain that, together with his daughter Leah, does the Riding Big Red podcast. Captain Max takes us on an inside look at what really happens at the fire station. And I'll give you a little hint. They're all really good chefs. He's just a really cool dude, and I can't wait to have him on again. Always a great time when Texas reaches out to the great state of Arizona, and especially when our guest is a retired first responder and a fellow podcaster. The Papa Geoff's America program, continuing the conversation, one podcast at a time. It's a sunny 61 degrees at the OG radio studios in H-Town, Houston, Texas, Space City, the city with no limits. This is the Papa Geoff's America program on the OG radio network. Captain Max Parks, riding Big Red, when we come back. Papa Geoff's America, so much more than politics. New episodes every Monday. Check it out and subscribe at papageoffusa.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Papa Geoff's America, continuing the conversation, one podcast at a time. Hey, welcome back, guys, to Papa Geoff's America. Thanks for joining us again today. Special episode today. We've got a great guest virtually today. This is Max Parks. Max is a retired Tucson City firefighter. And you guys know that from my days back in being a paramedic in Reno, Nevada, way back in the day, I've got paramedic stories that could go on forever. Well, Max has stories that could go on longer than forever. Max is awesome. Max and his daughter, Leah, who is actually here but has no great stories to tell today. She's actually engineering on the other end there in Arizona, and we're here in Texas. They are the hosts of the Riding Big Red podcast, and you should know, and if you don't know, you know now, that Riding Big Red is the fire engine, the fire truck, the fire apparatus. And from my days in EMS, firefighters are great people. They take flack just like the police do, just like EMT paramedics do, but, essential workers and first responders and such, literally the lifeblood of what goes on, because we as the public, just rely on, hey, if something goes wrong, somebody's going to be there to answer the call. And Max did that for a lot of years, and we're going to get into in a little bit of what kind of prompted him to start this, because we all have stories. But Max, just I'll let him talk a little bit about his bio and what's going on. But I can tell you that he's got a lot of qualifications here: husband, dad, grandpa, retired firefighter, podcaster, just a really great guy. Max, thanks for joining us today. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks, Geoff, for having us on. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're all in this together, as we say. And you are one of the ones that I used to tell people back in my medic days that if you see me running, I'm running away from it. I'm not running into it. I was one of the ones on our service anyway, that everything was secured by the time that we went in there. And whether it was the police that were going in to secure a scene of there was a law enforcement issue, or whether the fire service was going in to secure a scene, and we were taking care of them and monitoring things when they would come out if it was a long-term event. I wasn't the one that ran into it, and you were part of that. You went into it, and
Yeah.
that's a special, really, really special thing.
Oh yeah.
And
It was funny when I first got on the fire department. When you're a new guy, you have so much energy and you want to learn and do and be involved. And one of the tasks that you have to perform at the station each day that you work is a trip to the grocery store to buy groceries for the station,
mhm.
because you have to cook a lunch and you have to cook a dinner for the guys. And so the junior guy at the station would go to the grocery store. And I always hated that because inevitably I would miss a call. And when you're a new guy, you want to go on every call because you never know what you're going to miss.
Did it work out? I mean, obviously, for the amount of years that you did it, but did you always kind of miss that one? If did it always work out, or sometimes work out to where the point? Sure, the one time that I'm gone, that's when this big call comes down. Did that happen?
Oh yeah. No, I missed a few big calls that I wish I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Usually you get a call, you get back to the station and your apparatus is gone. You're going, oh, they went on a call. So you grab a radio and listen in, see what they're doing. Usually it wasn't anything big, but every now and then you'd miss that one call, and it's like, oh, just heartbreaking that you didn't get to go do that.
That sounds familiar. I know that back when I was on the ambulance, most of the calls were routine, and we
Yeah.
worked 12-hour shifts, 4 days a week, and you never use the Q word, quiet, lest
Yes.
ye anger the Motorola gods. No,
Right.
no, no. And undoubtedly there was somebody that did that, and I know it's just a superstition and such, but
Oh yeah.
always you get that, it's almost
Yeah.
time to go
Well, it's
home.
funny, in the fire service, and when I was in training, one of our training captains told us that at some point in your career, you're going to be sitting around the station wishing that somebody's house burns down. And it sounds really horrible, but you think about all the training and what you do and you train mostly for that.
Hmm.
And you go 2, 3 weeks, a month without going to a fire, and next thing you know, you're sitting around wishing for a fire. But if that happens, somebody's building or house or car or something is burned up.
Yep.
It's just a funny thing.
But it's and I understand completely what you're saying. We all, police, fire, and EMS, all have kind of an odd sense of humor, if you will. And if
Well,
you're
yeah.
if you're outside the circle, it's kind of hard to understand. And if you just heard it kind of from the outside, you'd say, "What's wrong with this guy?" There's nothing wrong with this guy. This
Right.
this this,
And
this
you're not wishing bad on people
No.
by that. You don't want it to happen, but it's one of those things that if all you do in your life is train for a certain thing, but you never get to do it, y- you wish for it. And that's kind of what it is. And the Super Bowl for firefighters is going to fires. I mean, that's what you train for. That's the
Right.
danger. That's the anxious, the anxiety, the adrenaline filled rush you get. That's what you get. You do all that training for.
And I think one of the things that a lot of people, and I don't know if it's still true today, I'm going to assume it is that most of the calls that the fire service goes on are medical related as opposed
Oh yeah.
to fire related.
Yeah, it's
And
about 80% medical and about 20% fire, generally nationwide. Now, Chicago and New York kind of throw things out of balance, but most of the other departments, that's about what the balance is.
right, right. No, you're there and you're answering the call, and that was important to me for the short time compared to a lot, certainly compared to you. for that I did it, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I look back on it. Some things I do want to remember, some things I don't.
Oh yeah.
But no, it was an amazing part of my life, and
Right.
now I can use it, and it helps me do what I do now. What made you want to become a firefighter way back when?
Yeah. My daughter laughs because she didn't know this story in the beginning, but I never wanted to be a firefighter. But before I was driving a truck for a living, and discovered that that job really stunk, and it was low pay, long hours, and hard work.
Yeah.
And so one day I said, you know what, there's got to be something better. So I called up the city and asked them if the police department or the fire department was hiring. And they said, well, put your name on a list. And the fire department sent the first notice. So it's like, okay, I'll try that.
There you go.
And once I figured out what the job was, it was absolutely the perfect job for me.
Hmm.
I mean, my later on in my career, my nickname was the Energizer Bunny because
Oh, you're
I
that
wanted to
guy.
be in, yeah, I wanted to be involved with everything. I wanted to do everything, get my crew in, if something came up, let's go volunteer for that. Let's try this, and so, yeah, that was my nickname.
Nothing wrong with that. There's a whole lot worse things you could have been known as. So
Oh
that's
yeah. Yeah.
no, that's great. That's a good thing. So you did that for a long time, and I know within the fire service there's lots of different things that you can do. And I used to always say that, I haven't seen it all because then I would automatically see something new. I
Yes.
think there's just always something out there, or different varieties of things out there, of things that
Yes.
that you can come up with, or things that you can.
Well, that's what made the job really appealing to me was every single day it was different. I mean, I've been on 10,000 car accidents,
Yeah.
but no two of them are the same. You never know what you're going to run into, what tricky thing is going to show up, what's going to really eat at you, what you're going to have to do. I mean, we went on a car accident one time and it took us 45 minutes to get this poor girl out of the car
Hmm.
because the way she was hit, the brake pedal actually wound up stuck in the side of her foot,
Oh.
and it was pinned up against the hump of the car inside. And so we couldn't get any access. And the good thing for her was she was unconscious most of the time, because otherwise she would have been in some excruciating pain. And
Yeah.
I mean, we basically had to dismantle the car in order to get her out of it. And it was really, you know, trying to get our crew, everybody. I'm asking, come on, people, we got to come up with an idea. Who's got this? We called our technical rescue team to come out and help us. And
Hmm.
basically, we dismantled the car down to the fenders and top and seats, and finally able to get that brake pedal out the side of her foot.
Well, and that's part of what you train to do is people don't know. If they wanted to look into the research, they could certainly see, but people don't know what a post is, and a B post, and a
Right.
this and a that, and how to do the Tetris to take it apart. I I,
Yes.
you guys train to do that, and thank God you guys do know how to do that, because you just never know
Right.
what is going to happen. And yeah, I live for today, because you don't know. You
Right.
just don't know. Life is a gift, and it's precious, and it could change literally in a heartbeat. You just don't know, because you and
Oh
I
yeah.
have both seen that, and
Right.
it does happen. So
Oh, it's
let's
funny because you see accidents like that where this poor girl stuck in her car, and you go to another car accident that you show up and the car looks like somebody's obviously dead inside this car, and they're standing on the sidewalk looking at you like, wow. And it's like, you were actually in this car? And they're like, yeah. I mean, it's surprising, and it's like it's not their time. And
yes. No, absolutely. You look at that and you say, you were no, you were in that
no.
car? No, no, you weren't. No, no.
Yes.
Yeah, I was. Okay, well, just like you said, no, it wasn't your time. We all have, as long as you did it, and even with the shorter time that I did it, you can't, because I get asked quite often, what was my daughter asked me, what was your strangest call? You can't answer that question, because
No.
I don't know, pick a day, pick a year, you just don't know. I was looking on your social media, and it was on your Instagram, and there's a picture of firefighter Jenga, and I laughed at that, and I said, I can actually relate to that to a call, and
Hmm.
and I don't remember what the term is of what you guys do to put the blocks in there to, I'm going to say, shore up. I don't even know if that's
Right.
the term, but to stabilize
Right. Stabilize the
something.
vehicle.
And in this case, it was a vehicle, and it was in the city of Sparks, Nevada, and it was in the middle of the night, and it was a car that was driven into the front of a house, and it landed on top of these people's bed, and they were in
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
And it turns out that it was the wrong house. It was the husband, ex-husband, boyfriend, something that was intoxicated, and, "Well, I'm going to show her," that situation. And
Yes.
wrong house, oops. And we went in there and we said, there's no way that anybody's alive in that, and they were. And very minor injuries, but I remember, the guys from the Sparks Fire Department just in there and doing the Jenga thing,
Right.
obviously reverse Jenga, of putting the
Yep.
blocks in there and shoring everything. And we were able to, with the team effort, to get these people out. I remember C-spining them while they were upright, which was the first time I'd ever done that. And I was
Hmm.
like, okay, let's get them. And the injuries were just so, and wow, it was just one of those moments. And we tried to stay away from the press. You never really wanted anything to do with that. And it was one of
Yes.
those, when we were walking them out, the media was outside, and there was a clip. Somebody texted me later that morning, "Hey, Papa Jeff, did you see you were on the news?" Oh God, no, no. What? And I know my
Yeah.
bosses are saying, "What did he say? What did he know?" All I did was
Yeah.
walk by, and you
Oh
know,
yeah, I remember on one call in particular years ago. Afterwards, the local media was there and they wanted to interview somebody, so the chief made me do it. And so I gave him, 15, 20 seconds of an interview. And when it came out on TV, it's like it was absolutely nothing that I said correctly, out of context, had nothing to do with the call. It's like, you got to be kidding me. So yes, they were frustrating to be around.
it, and of course, our service was like, we'll get somebody out there to talk to them. Don't talk to them. Never say no comment, because no comment means yes, I am lying. And
Yeah.
don't. And
Yeah.
so
Oh yeah.
we just did everything we could to try and go the other way. And I have friends that are in the media, certainly, and now being in Houston, big city, although Reno
Hmm.
was the
Yes.
biggest little city, here in Houston, I
Yeah.
mean, the press knows it's going to happen before it happens, and so it would be a whole lot different for sure. But yeah, we all have our stories. That was an odd one, for sure. Definitely not those people's time, and they were happy that we were there. They did end up catching the guy that did the driving, and it was
Oh, there
like,
you go.
okay, so there was a just strange,
Yeah. Yeah,
just
you never know. I mean, and one of the folks I want to try to get on our podcast, there was a call here in town years, probably 15 years ago, maybe, and involving a drunk driver. And I always hated those calls because
yeah.
the drunk drivers never paid for what they did. They
Nope.
were always the uninjured person.
Hmm.
But this guy was driving through a neighborhood at, I don't know, 60 miles an hour. He ran through a stop sign and hit a minivan full of a family and wiped them out. Just demolished 9 people in this minivan, uh, everywhere from a 6-month-old to an 80-year-old female.
Mm.
And everybody died. And the guys that were on that call, I mean, to this day, that's your most horrific day. And so I want to try to get a couple of those guys on to tell that story. Just and it helps them, it helps them to
Yeah.
tell that story and get it off their chest and really tell the public that this is the kind of stuff that we see and this is reality. Not the stuff you see on TV where everybody gets saved and, oh man, you're going to be perfectly fine because we're here now. And it's like, no, that doesn't work that way.
No, not everything is CSI and solved in 60 minutes, and not every call is. And no, we actually don't run into things because we're surveying the scene as we're coming up,
Yeah.
the dashboard view, if you will, of what's happening. We're seeing what it is. We know what it is a little bit as we're on the way to it, but we're going to size it up. And there you go,
Right.
NREMT scene size up. We're going to see that, and we don't
Yeah.
run in, and it's actually very choreographed
Right.
of what's going to happen. And so,
Yes, it's very coordinated. And I was fortunate in my last probably 10 years on the department. I had the best crew ever. I mean, the guys were just top notch. I didn't have to, they're good when you don't have to get to the call and explain everything to them.
yeah,
Like I just give them the orders and they knew what to do. And generally they knew what to do before I even gave them the orders.
yeah.
And so we worked so well as a team and we practiced and drilled all the time. And the one thing that we were famous for as a crew is we also played pretty hard. We would go to the park and play tennis or frisbee, or we'd go to the local convenience store, get sodas. We'd, goof around a lot, but it was because they worked so hard.
Hmm.
We were so good.
There's nothing wrong with work hard, play hard,
No,
and it develops the team camaraderie, and that you can rely on your coworker that's there. They got your back, and
yeah,
no, that's all team building. That's all. No, that's
right.
absolutely, guys. We're
Well,
talking with. Go ahead.
right, but trying to explain that to some of the higher ups in the ranks was
Mm.
difficult. I had a pretty good battalion chief, my boss, and they were on him all the time trying to get him to get me under control. And he's like, why? I'm there's nothing wrong with them. They do
No,
perfectly good, so leave them alone.
let the man do his job. He's yeah.
Yeah.
But like we said, when they quit talking about you, is when you got to worry. So
Yes.
keep your name up in lights for sure. Guys, we're talking to Max Parks. He is the co-host of Riding Big Red, a podcast, and a retired Tucson City firefighter of many, many years, and a great guest today. We certainly enjoy having him. Max, why podcasting? What headed you toward that?
You know what? It's I would like to take some credit for it, but I can't. My daughter actually came up with the idea. She's a real go-getter, and she was probably early summer when this whole pandemic thing hit. She's like, what we really should do? We should do a podcast because, you've got all these stories that I've never heard, and I'm sure people would like to hear them. And so I thought, fine, I can tell stories all day long. So she's done all the work and done all the investigating and how to put it together. And, we spent 3 months getting things, recorded and getting our style down. And she's done such a marvelous job. And I really like telling the stories and the reality of firefighting. That's what's really fun about it.
Well, I think it's great, and I know that, and yes, kudos to Leah as well, because I've heard the podcasts, and she does do a great job, and kudos to her as well for coming up with the idea and you guys
Yes.
developing it and putting it out there, because people do need to hear this. And I like what you said as well, of having some of your brothers come on to the broadcast and be able to share, because they're, podcasting is everybody has a podcast, and the
It seems like
niche, I think, as they call it today, niche market back in my day. There's something for everyone, literally. And when I see something that's out there that has something to do with firefighting, like your title is absolutely on point, because I knew, or had a really, really, really good idea, that when I saw that title, I said, I think I know what this is. And it
yes.
was. And so, no, you've got it down there, and I definitely commend you. We're going to definitely promote this on our social media, because I want people to, our folks, both here and abroad, because we've got a growing international audience as well. We recently did an episode with a fellow podcaster that's in China,
Oh, great.
and so we're reaching out. They're reaching out. I think our industry, our craft, if you will, of podcasting is reaching out, and we're starting to collaborate more projects. And I think that's great, because I'm not in
Yeah.
this just for me. I'm in this for everybody. I'll contact someone and say, hey, would you like to come on here, and I'll help you with this if you help me with that. And sometimes I get okay, this has got to be a bot that's contacting me and just wants to. No, I want to try and help out and reach out, and obviously I want to grow my audience too, but I want to help
Sure.
as well. So no, this is a great thing. We're going to put that out on our stuff, and I know you guys are going to share this as well. I know you
You bet.
guys are almost finished with your first season. Episode 19 broke, I believe early this morning for you guys.
Yes.
And you have episode 20 that's coming up. That is going to be your epic season finale before you go on break. Anything you want to tell us about what's coming up? Kind of tease it a little bit about your season finale.
The season finale, we just thank a lot of people that listened in and tuned in. There's going to be some hilarity to it, some funny things. Podcasting is not perfect. My daughter does a good job of editing it and making it sound great, but there's some funny parts to it. So that'll come out on that. The story we tell on episode 20 was a pretty horrific story. People, probably want to hear that one. It actually brought out the best in humanity to me. I mean, the people that I had to actually rely on were just civilians at this call, and it really boosted my morale towards people. So that was really good, and you'll hear that in episode 20.
Well, guys, you definitely need to check out the episode 20, but let me give you just a little hint. Check them all the episodes out, obviously, but take a listen to episode 19 as well, which just broke, because you're going to have an opportunity to meet Max's lovely bride of 36 years. She is on that episode as well. So episode 19, episode 20 coming up, and certainly the next season of Riding Big Red. We're going to stay in contact with Max and Leah, and going to be bringing more of that to you. We're going to talk these guys into coming back, either probably just prior to their new season coming up, because we want to definitely we want to stay connected with the Riding Big Red folks, and just make this whole thing grow for both of us. Max Parks has been
Yeah.
our guest today. Thank you so much, Max, for coming on the Riding Big Red podcast. How do folks get a hold of you, and how do they find your podcast, and tell us about that?
I'll jump on here. This is Leah. So you can find us on Facebook, searching Riding Big Red Podcast. We're also on Instagram right now, and same thing, searching Riding Big Red Podcast. We also have an email where you can email us topics or questions, and that's writingbigred@gmail.com.
There you go. I like it.
There's my technical advisor.
I have one of those too. And I think she's in her online classroom today because of the pandemic. So
Yeah, there you go.
I have one that my wife helps. She actually doesn't help. She actually produces the show, and two daughters that come in, and they have suggestions about this and suggestions about that, and they're actually technically in the background. So absolutely, behind every great broadcaster, there's another great broadcaster for sure. Guys, we certainly thank you for joining us today. Riding Big Red is the podcast. We will put all the notes on how to get in contact with these guys on social media, and of finding their podcast. We'll put that in our show notes, and we certainly appreciate you guys coming on. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Geoff. We really appreciate it. And thank you for all of your listeners, and thank you for putting us on your podcast.
Absolutely. Best to you guys. Take care. Guys, you're listening to the Papa Geoff's America podcast. Sit tight. We'll be right back. Thank you for joining us today for the Papa Geoff's America program. Check out more episodes of our podcast at papajeffusa.com. You can subscribe through the link on our website, or wherever you get your podcasts. We're on all the major platforms. papajeffusa.com is your home for Papa Geoff's America. While you're there, you can check out more episodes of the broadcast, check out the OG Corner, get in contact with us, and you can even link to all of our social media. Please share our broadcast on all of your social media, because sharing is caring. And if you would like to help us keep our broadcast content free, please click on the Buy Me a Coffee link. You know how much Papa Geoff loves his coffee. And while we're on the subject of you, we want to hear from you. Your thoughts and comments and suggestions are what make this program go. Send us an email at our website, papajeffusa.com, or you can text us at area code 281-940-6980. Message and data rates may apply. Remember to wear that mask. Stay home if you can. Practice social distancing. Wash your hands frequently. And let's all take care of each other. Remember, disagree doesn't mean dislike. We're all in this together. Thanks again for joining us. We're looking forward to seeing you next time when we continue the conversation, one podcast at a time.